Good morning, Faithy.
Hi.
I'd like to introduce my daughter, Faith Foy Artis, who used to have my last name not that long ago, and she is probably one of the most important interviews that I feel like I need to do as a mother because as you know, I have battled endometriosis, and so welcome to one of the episodes of Endometriosis The Internal Bully. So my daughter, unfortunately, has to deal with this nasty disease as well, and she's got a very different story than myself. And so she has kindly offered to be interviewed today. She lives in America. I'm in the in Australia, and so I still have a hard time saying that you're not here. So how are you today, darling?
I'm good. I've had a good day. Yeah, good start to the day. Went for a jog this morning with my husband and trying to eat clean. It's been a good day. Busy day.
When you say eat clean, why would you want to eat clean? How does that help you, especially in regards to what we're talking about today?
I think that eating clean is super important when you have endometriosis because certain foods can um, create inflammation, or they can just make your stomach feel a little bit more upset than what it should be.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, leading into that topic, do you feel for sure that you have battled endometriosis in your life?
Totally. Yes.
Can you share with us why you think that?
Um, Probably because almost 5 days out of every month, I have to put aside and know that I'm probably going to be bedridden for those 5 days
Why would you be bedridden?
because of the pain and the exhaustion and, yeah, just the unbearable pain and not being able to do much because you just feel sick and, yeah, in pain.
So, your symptoms would be pain and feeling sick. What else do you battle?
Um, I don't know.
Migraines?
Yes.
Nausea? I can
I
tell
do.
you as your mom some of what you battle.
I like sometimes forget unless I'm like in the moment, but I do definitely struggle with migraines. I feel like they could be linked to a lot of things, but I do believe that endometriosis does, I guess, put to that as well.
Hmm,
Um, that's all I can. Oh, back pain,
hmm.
and not just back pain while I'm on my period, but throughout the month. Um, Side pain, a lot.
So pain is your main reason for being in bed.
Yes.
And what do you do to treat that pain?
Um, Either heavy medication, which I'm trying to get off. I've actually just started to implement essential oils into my routine, and I've started using this essential oil called Panaway. It's by Young Living. And instead of taking medication, I try and rub that on my stomach where the pain is, and that's kind of been taking majority of the pain away. It doesn't take everything away, but definitely helps. Um, and I will use a hot water bottle on my stomach, and then I also have a heat pad on my back.
Hmm. And that's like for almost a week of your month.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so outside of that time, do you feel like you battle the symptoms of endometriosis when you're not on your period?
Mm, Not usually. I have before, but lately I haven't really dealt with a whole lot of pain outside of my period.
So I automatically, when you say that, I automatically assume that I could come up with reasons as to why the pain has changed for you. And I wonder if you would agree with me or change my opinion. I feel like, as your mom, when I've seen you go through the highest amount of endometrial pain or challenges with your period, has been when you've been living a life that's been a bit stressful or there's been high pressure.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about that?
I think that stress definitely has a lot to do with the type of pain that you get. I'm fortunate enough to have a husband that works and gets paid well for what he does, and definitely a supportive husband that wants me to rest and not stress. And so that's been a great help because I don't have a stressful job anymore that, creates more pain or stress.
So as my daughter, you saw me go through some of the depths of my endometriosis journey. Um, in observing my walk, do you feel like stress added to my pain?
Definitely.
Mm.
I think that when you get stressed, you can start to overthink. You can, get all crazy in your mind. And when your mind starts running, I think that your mental health has a lot to do with your physical health as well.
So that leans into one of my next questions is, do you feel like during these times that your mental health is challenged because of pain and because of the times when you didn't necessarily know whether you had anything wrong before you were aware of endometriosis?
Yeah, definitely before knowing that I have had endometriosis, I would say that it is a mind game because you're every single month wondering what the heck is wrong with you. You feel stupid and, you know, like people don't understand because endometriosis is not something that you can physically see. So I am I like to classify myself as a strong woman, mentally and physically and all the above. But I don't like coming across like I'm in pain. I like to come across as I can do this, or I'm a strong woman. So when someone else can't physically see what you're going through, but you have to say, like I'm not feeling well, or I need to cancel plans because I'm really unwell, it does play on your mind mentally because you start to wonder, oh well, they can't see, what I'm going through, so they may not believe me, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you might remember that I felt so sick for so long without a diagnosis, because as you know, I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my 40s, and so you were a teenager, and I remember feeling so uptight about the fact that I now had a disease, and one of my biggest pressures was hoping that it wasn't generational or that it wasn't hereditary, and here you and I are today talking about the fact that we've battled the same disease, which is, as a mom, really irritating and really um, sometimes has added a lot of stress to my own battle because I wanted to battle through this and learn as much as I could, partially to stop you from having to deal with what you're now dealing with today. So you observed what I went through, and we now know that it's, well, in our case, in our family, it's hereditary. We think that my mom had it. And I fought so hard in my own self to try to do whatever I could to help that you didn't have it, but then we found you did. And so how does that make you feel?
Honestly, I'm not angry at you or anyone that I have it. Like I just know that I have it and I have to deal with it, and I have to make the right decisions to make sure that I deal with it well. It doesn't bother me that I have it. Like, yes, it sucks, and there's a lot of things that come with endometriosis that I do not enjoy, but it is what it is,
Mm,
and I just have to get through it. Like, I don't see it as, I don't know, like a cloud over me,
mm.
if that makes sense. Like, I don't like to give it too much energy or time because it already takes 4 to 5 days of my month. So I'm not going to give it, like the time or the energy that, I don't know, that it doesn't deserve.
Yeah, and I completely understand where you're coming from because I was the same when I was your age, and it was only as I got older that I was willing to open up the door of the fact that I felt unwell on a regular basis, and people would start saying that I looked like I was wearing pain. And even though, like you said before, you can't see the pain, that seems to be one of the biggest challenges that women have with endometriosis is that they feel like everyone expects them to feel good because they look okay. And I
Mm.
personally remember when one of our family doctors said to me, everything that you're going through doesn't make sense because you look fine, like, and you present positive and, you're generally healthy. And those kind of things made me really frustrated after a long time of trying to get diagnosed because I felt like nobody understood my journey. So do you feel like you've encountered that with doctors or people who just don't understand what the disease is?
In all honesty, I probably don't tell a whole lot of people.
Mm.
Like I said before, I like to come across as a strong woman, and part of that is like not telling everyone what you're going through or your faults. So it's definitely like mainly right now the closest people to me that know about it. Or if I have to cancel on a female friend, I eventually have to tell them, like what's going on. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
So do you feel like now that you're married, do you feel like it affects your husband? And was he even aware of endo when you guys first met?
He did not know about endometriosis before me. He It does affect, um, I would say, our relationship and our marriage, not in a bad way. He is very he's a very present husband anyways. So when I am, sick for 5 days a month, he is always by my side pretty much, like getting me what I need and helping to care for me and everything like that. But I guess it does affect his schedule as well, because if I'm homesick, he wants to be home caring for me. And if he has plans that day, then he's going to cancel them, which, is sad for him. I feel very blessed that I have a husband that, would cancel his plans to look after me, but I don't like that he has to do that.
Yeah, and what you're saying is really important because so many women battle this alone for many reasons. Number one, they don't know what's wrong with them, and they're told by society and doctors that it's normal to have pain during your periods. Or they have husbands that work away, or they have people that aren't interested in taking care of them. And so the fact that you have experienced all of those, you've experienced pain alone, you've experienced pain with family that wasn't always there to help you, and now you're experiencing this journey with a husband who's available to you. Do you feel like you understand the loneliness that a lot of women battle? The loneliness of pain.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you are married, it's not something that your husband goes through. So he doesn't 100% totally understand everything that you're going through. And if your family or your friends are out doing stuff and you're just kind of home in bed waiting for the days or the pain to pass, then
Mm.
it is lonely. It can be lonely, and especially when a lot of people out there don't even know what it is. They can't comprehend what you're going through.
Yeah. And so, what do you do during those 5 days when you're really battling the worst of endometriosis?
I sleep. I have hot baths. In all honesty, sometimes I don't even have the energy to watch a movie or a TV show. Like, I just want to like lay there and do nothing.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I would say the first like 2 days are the worst. Like, there are times where the pain is so bad that I feel like I'm going to pass out. Like,
Mm.
it wasn't that long ago, probably 2 months ago, that I was actually at IKEA, and luckily I went with a friend, and I was on my second day, and I was so close to passing out in the middle of IKEA. I ended up having to leave like my whole cart of shopping and just like go. I was sitting on the outside of IKEA on the concrete because I was just gone. Like, I just really didn't feel well at all. And that's not like me to just go sit on a concrete floor. Like, I'm a germ freak. So I'm like, I don't want to sit on the dirty floor. But that's how bad it gets sometimes.
Have you ever passed out from the pain?
I've never passed out. I've been close many times.
Mm.
Sometimes I literally just have to sit on the bath floor with hot water running over me for an hour. Like, sometimes that's all that will help.
I remember when you were younger and um, you used to battle. getting quite nauseous and quite unwell during your period time, and we were trying to find answers. And it was before I was diagnosed, and there was even other family members that we are aware of that battled really difficult times during periods.
Yeah.
But we just put it down to that, and we just think, gosh, Faith gets really bad periods, and sometimes she's so nauseous she has to vomit, and and it was just this constant journey of, wow, this girl gets really slammed, and us trying to always figure out why. Um, but even when I look back on those times, I think about what you were going through in life, and it was stressful. There was stressful seasons, whether it was you were in high school, or there was pressure in the family, or just pressure in your own life with work. And so, personally, I'm happy to hear that that's not as bad as it used to be, because of the lack of stress. But do you
Mm.
feel like some people join the bandwagon of a group when they are a part of something, like there's the Endo warriors and there's the endometriosis associations, and are you like this woman who just wants to campaign to help other people? Like, why would you share your story with us? Why would you actually want to be vulnerable and share what you're about?
Because I think it's important that if women are out there and they're struggling with this type of pain, that they actually go and get checked out and find out what's wrong with them, so that they know, so that they can stop, having the mind games going on in their head. Because I had pain for a few years, and it wasn't until I was at work one day, almost passing out in the bathroom, that my manager sent me home and said, "If I'm not letting you come back to work until you get checked out." So sometimes you need people in your life to tell you you need to go to the doctor right now
Mm.
and get checked out. Like, it's not that difficult to, go to the doctor and get a blood test, or talk to the doctor and tell them what you're going through. I think that it's important as women that we rally together and support one another. And if no one knows what you're going through or can understand, then how are people supposed to help you?
That's great, and that brings me to the thought of the fact that one of the major things that we deal with endometriosis is inflammation, and
Hmm.
you've had some challenges with that over the years, haven't you?
Hmm.
And so, do you find that that's something that and you can share more on that if you want to, but I'd also like to know if it's something that you're aware of dealing with on a daily basis.
For me, it's not on a daily basis. It's mainly leading up to my period, and then the 7 days that I have it. Sometimes I feel like, well, I might be pregnant, but no, it's just my period that's coming. Because you get so bloated. But thankfully, I don't actually deal with the extent that people deal with when it comes to bloating.
And for the inflammation, how has that burdened you in your life, outside of the bloating?
I wouldn't say it has.
Your eating, or just feeling full, as far as like your body feeling like you're carrying extra water weight or anything like that? Because that's one of the things some of the women deal with.
Sometimes I don't, you know, wear tight clothes or shorts, or clothes that I want to wear when I'm feeling that way, because I don't feel so confident in myself. But I would say that's the only thing that stops me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Faithy, you got married how many months ago now?
Um, Geez, I want to say, what was it, April?
Hmm. So April this year, and it's now September.
5 months.
Wow. So you are welcome to explore as much detail as you want to, or as little detail as you want to. But can I ask you how this has affected you as a married woman, and having an opportunity to um, be intimate with your husband? And is there anything you want to share about that to encourage other women?
Um, to not go into too much detail, I would probably say that if you experience any pain or uncomfortability, during intercourse or anything like that, I would get checked out, so that you know what's going on, because that can be something that occurs when you have endometriosis.
Yeah, and I asked that question because, as you know, our last interview with Sonia, she admittedly didn't talk to anyone for so long, and talked about how her and her husband really struggled through the first few years of their marriage with that. Do you feel that communication is really important with you and your husband?
Totally. I think that a wife and a husband should be completely transparent with one another in all things. I mean, unless you're trying to surprise them for their birthday. I think that you should tell your husband or your wife, well, your husband, um, what you're going through. Like, I don't think that there's anything that you should hide
Mm.
in your marriage. And especially if you're going through something this deep, or if you're in pain, they're the ones that are supposed to be the closest to you. So you should really let them in and help you go through that. Because I'm hoping that, if you're married, your husband married you for you and they care about you and they don't want to see you in pain. So if they know what you're going through, they'll know how to help you better. If you don't share or you don't communicate what's happening, they're not mind readers. No one is. So they're not going to know the best, steps to take to help you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you say that, because from a generational point of view, one thing that we know about my mother, which there's a lot of unknowns, is that it's highly likely she had a strong battle with endometriosis. And um, I know that my father and her had a very hard time sexually, and I know that she had a ridiculous amount of miscarriages. It was kind of too many to count from what I was told before I came along, and then I was an only child. And I comfortably had conversations with your grandfather over the years, having knowing the fact that my mom died young as well, that their sexual relationship was really poor because of the pressure of having so many miscarriages and not being able to fall pregnant, and it ended up kind of wrecking their marriage. And then a few years later she took her own life, and there's been a lot of suspicion that part of the reason why she might have done that was because of the internal turmoil and the pain and the brain fog and the lack of being diagnosed. And she worked in the medical field, and so um, when I look at the third generation, you being the granddaughter of that and you being my daughter, I think that we as a three generation of women, we've we've walked through this journey so differently. And we've been really, really blessed to have a much more positive outcome per generation. And I'm so grateful that you got diagnosed early, because, as you know, I dealt with severe pain for 25 years without knowing what was wrong. And I can honestly say hiding that and acting like I was okay a lot of time in the end was not a good thing for me, because it added more stress to my life. And that's
Mm.
partially why I'm thankful that you're aware. Even though endo's not a nice thing to deal with, can you find any positives in it? Is there any good thing that it actually has helped you see about yourself or others?
Um, I would probably say the only thing that I can think of right now is the fact that there are so many people dealing with chronic illnesses that you may not be able to see or understand. And I think it's definitely given me more of an understanding of what so many people go through on a daily basis.
Mm.
That's probably the only highlight that I can think of. And maybe a second one would also be like, personally, in my marriage, I feel like some of the times that I struggle with endometriosis, it has brought my husband and I closer, because being, in a different country and away from my family and not having many friends, he's my only support and best friend. And so when I need something, he's the one that I talk to or go to, and he's always right there.
Mm. Yeah, and I've been so grateful for that as your mom, that you have that support, because I remember those early conversations that we had with your husband explaining the battle, and being a young man himself, not knowing about endometriosis, explaining some of that journey and some of the details of that journey seemed important at the time. And so I'm really grateful that he takes care of you the way he does, and you take care of him the way you do. Um,
Mhm.
I think, I guess my only other question is, because you're in America and you grew up most of your life in Australia, and you watched me go through this journey. You were always aware of endometriosis once we figured out what it was. Do you feel like there's much awareness in the United States?
I do actually. I think there may be only one person here that I've spoken to that doesn't know what it is.
Mm.
That's females. There are a lot of males that don't know what it is, and that's okay. It is a female disease. But yeah, I think that a lot more people here know about it than I experienced in Australia.
Okay. And I find that interesting because everyone has a different version of that answer. And I guess the only other thing to help other women, one of the things that people ask me all the time is, what does it actually feel like? Even just yesterday, I ran into a friend and I didn't know that her sister had gone into surgery a few days ago for endometriosis. And she was asking me, what does it feel like? What should I expect her to be like now? And what was the pain she would have been going through to now what's the pain that she might not have anymore? Are you able, without just using the word pain, to describe the feeling, especially the extreme feeling? Because it's got to be extreme enough for you to stay in bed all the time. You're not lazy. You don't just go to bed because, it's a little bit hard. It's got to be quite strong.
I think it's hard to describe. I've never been asked to describe the pain before, but I would honestly say, like, from the mid to lower part of my back and all the way around the front, for those 5 days is just really, really achy and a throbby, I guess. It's really hard to explain, because it's kind of like an overall feeling, and to the point where I want to black out. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit hard to describe, but that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and I know for me, I would say the exact same thing. It got as bad as to the point where it was kind of just my rib cage all the way through to my abdomen, across my back. But it was the stabbing that was the worst for me. I would sometimes feel like there was just a knife just stabbing into my abdominal areas. And as you know, I had a few lung collapses that are theoretically related to endo. And that's the same pain, and some people have said that that's the popping of endometrial cysts. That's the movement of, the lining of the tissue that comes out of our uterus and grabs onto other areas of our body. Would you say that stabbing is something that you felt regularly?
I have felt that a few times. I remember feeling it up my side
Mm.
1 month and ended up in hospital because of that.
Yeah.
But I haven't experienced that a whole lot.
Well, it sounds like your journey has actually gotten easier as stress has left your life. Would you say that?
I would say that, but then I wouldn't also, because it's kind of weird. Like, every single month is completely different. You don't know what to expect. I kind of dread, like when I look at my period app on my phone and I'm like, I have 2 days left until I'm probably going to be in bed for a few days. I can't plan anything here. So I really think that it's just so different every single month. You don't really know what to expect.
And everyone battles it differently, don't they?
Yeah.
And when you've done any research or you've actually sought any medical advice, has there ever been any possibility of you not battling endo in conversation?
What do you mean?
Like, has a doctor ever said to you, oh, we can just do this and it'll fix it and it'll go away? Or if you take care of this, you won't battle it anymore. Has anybody ever been able to share anything with you that makes you feel like you won't have to live with this?
If I get pregnant. I've heard a lot of doctors say, if you get pregnant or when you get pregnant, like, you won't necessarily have to deal with it. And a lot of people, when they get pregnant after they've had the baby, the pain isn't as bad.
Mm.
But also I've heard that pregnancies are horrible with endometriosis, and after pregnancy, it's even worse than it was before. So I really think that it depends on the person.
Mm. And what about surgery or medical intervention?
Yeah, surgery supposedly is the only cure at the moment, and I was on the list to get a surgery for about 2.5 years, and I got the letter about a month after I moved to America
Mm.
during COVID, so I couldn't fly back and, have the surgery, which is disappointing, but yeah, surgery is a way that can get rid of it.
So mentally, that was quite a big challenge that your surgery plans were interrupted. And if we're just talking surgery plans, it took you so long to actually get the support from the public health system, which is
Mm.
a completely other conversation. But did you feel supported by your doctors in the midst of all of this?
I definitely felt supported by my GP in Australia. She is amazing, Dr. Kathy at the hub. Incredible.
You felt like she understood what you were going through?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend anyone else, like, other than her.
Yeah, we've been blessed with a good doctor, haven't we? All right, Faithy, is there anything else you'd like to say today?
I think that's all. Just, if you're struggling with pain or you think that you could have any of these symptoms, don't live in silence. Like, speak up, go see a doctor, speak to your loved ones, speak to your friends, speak to someone who will try and get you the help that you need. And
Mm.
if you go to the doctor and they say nothing's wrong with you and you feel like that's wrong, keep pushing until someone actually fights for you and tells you what the problem is.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
what I have to
thank you. Thank you for sharing, Faith.
say.
I know even though we're mother and daughter, there's we all have our own personal journeys, and it's so important that even mothers and daughters talk about this openly. And I'm grateful that you took time to share with us today. And for our viewers, if you'd like to follow our journey, please follow our YouTube channel, which is under Dina Foy McMaster. We're going to keep doing these interviews. We're actually doing a few more today, and I just hope that you get the awareness that you need by some of what we're sharing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Love you, darling.
Love you too.